Hello, good evening, and welcome to Call Off the Thought and Sing, the fourth one. And tonight we're asking, is love evolving? And if it is evolving, how? So I'm going to just lead us in a little opening, a little voice warm up, and then we're going to hear from dear Ohad, who's our first speaker, who has just this second arrived in New York City after a very long flight and being held up. So thank you so much for being with us, Ohad. You're going to kick us off with what will probably blow most of our minds. And then it's just going to get wider and wider from there. So I really want to dedicate this evening. I'll lead us in a little nervous system regulation in just a moment, but Call Off the Thought and Sing is the talk show where we can speak honestly and expansively into the kind of collective themes of our time. And tonight we have the most tender theme of how we love and how we are intimate. And, you know, there's a community in Portugal called Tamara, and they say the most important things that they organize their culture around is truth, transparency, and mutual support. So I want to intend that our conversation this evening, what we say and what we hear and what we feel, is all in the intention of expanding really our cultural capacity for truth, transparency, and mutual support in this most intimate realm of our lives. So to that end, I welcome each of the speakers, Ohad, Rachel, Sasha, Sola. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to all of you. And just to note that we are recording and it's going to be shared on YouTube, so there is no confidentiality. Okay, so everything that you say public, be willing for it to live forever on the internet. And so if you want to I hope that truth, transparency, mutual support means that you can show up just as yourself in your truth. But if you want to change your name and cut your video out, now is the time to do it. So I'll just lead us in a little grounding, because you might be feeling all kinds of things. So just first of all, just feel your feet and give them a wiggle and bring your awareness to the sensations in the soles of your feet. And now feel the weight in your sit bones if you're sitting, and shift your weight from sit bone to sit bone. And help your weight rest. Notice how much you weigh. Notice your body weight. Take a nice deep breath, slow exhalation. One more time, deep inhalation, make any kind of sound on the exhalation. Good, soften the sides of your tongue. Widen into owl eyes, whether your eyes are open or closed, come into the peripheries of your visual field. Have a little hum in your heart, feel the vibrations in there. And notice one thing you feel grateful for right now. And think of an intention that you have for this 90 minutes in this conversation tonight. All right, and then we're gonna sing that to the air. Take a nice deep breath and then la la la. Beautiful. And we're just gonna have a little 2-minute voice warm up. So wiggle your body, because this is the talk show where we use our voices to be with the emotional aspects of the conversation, and we don't just have to sit and listen and use language. We can use our voices and have hearts and bodies as we think and talk. Hey, Dawn, it's so good to see you. Yeah, wiggle everything and then yawn into one half of your mouth and down one side of your throat. And the other side. Stick your tongue deeply out, deeply in. Welcome, Oliver. You're a bit late. You missed the opening, but we are warming up our voices. Breathe into your chest. Make some chest sounds. breathe into your diaphragm, this area between your bra strap and your waist, and make some diaphragm sounds. Good. Breathe into your belly, some belly sounds. Good. Breathe into your pelvis, make some pelvis sounds. Any kind of sound is great. And your throat, a little gentle throat sounds. Get up into your head. Good, the whole area. Great. The last thing is creature language, which is basically talking nonsense. So you can start talking nonsense and then sing a little nonsense. So talking nonsense is like, let's say Sasha has just said something and we find it really triggering. We can just have a little, what is that man talking about? Then you can sing it. Yeah. So all on mute. We're going to have various opportunities to use our voices like that throughout the evening. So welcome. So we're going to dive into this topic, beginning with Ohad, who's then going to leave us because he's only just returned home and he got held up at the airport for a long time. So Ohad, so much gratitude that you're with us this evening. Ohad is lead facilitator at an organization called ISTA, which is the International School of Temple Arts, which, I mean, Ohad, maybe you can tell us a touch more about it, but it's basically sexual healing, sexual honesty, sexual authenticity, and temple sexuality. And it's definitely, in my experience, because I've done the course, it's definitely, is it just me or your volume? Okay, thank you for letting me know. Yeah, it is a little low. You're right. I appreciate that. Thank you. How's that? Great. It's also involves, a lot of healing and a lot of retrospective healing for younger parts that maybe didn't get the support they needed in their arrival into a culture that didn't really know what to do with sexuality. And what I noticed during the lockdown year was everybody was in lockdown, and ISTA was doing courses all over the world and selling out so quickly, charging quite high prices. People were flocking to ISTA in lockdown. Ohad, I think we've seen ISTA grow and grow and grow and grow, and you travel all over the world teaching groups of 100 people and leading them in this deep work. Ohad, I think you have quite a unique perspective on human sexuality and human intimacy and human love themes. Ohad's written a book called Kadesha about the ancient love temples in the Judaic culture, before they got destroyed, basically, by more sex-shaming approaches to religion. So Ohad, I know you've just flown, but I want to land you 10 minutes and the massive question, us as humans, or it may be humans in the Judeo-Christian lineage, where are we with our loving and our sexuality? Where have we been culturally? Where are we now? And as you teach and as you see people coming through your program, and what do you see emerging, growing, expanding in the realm of our intimate lives? Yeah, what does it come to you to say? Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Briony. Yeah, I'm really glad that I made it just on the minute to land into this talk. You know, I really love this line from the Sufi Sheikh Ibn Arabi. He was one of the mentors and inspirations of Rumi. Everybody knows about Rumi, but Ibn Arabi lived before him in the 12th century. And one of his famous lines, he says, "My heart become capable of any shape and form. My heart is a temple for pagans. My heart is a meadow for the gazelles. My heart is a Christian church. My heart is the tablets for the Jews and the mosque for the Muslims. My religion is the religion of love. My religion is the religion of love. And anywhere the camel of love will carry me, this is my path, And this is my faith. Anywhere the camel of love will carry me. Just let these people move. So the thing is that in Ibn Arabi's theology, he was a great theologian also, and in his theology, camels are what we call today divine energies, because camels were those animals that could carry you across the desert, carry you to places and destinations that by yourself, by your own energy, you could never approach, could never reach. So a camel became, in his theology, this metaphor for divine power that takes you way beyond where you can take yourself. So when he's talking about the camel of love, anywhere the camel of love will carry me, he means seriously that he allows love to carry him beyond his own mind, beyond his own human capacity. He's surrendering in religious devotion, because my religion is the religion of love. So he's surrendering in religious devotion to love itself. And from my experience, many times people in our culture think that they know better than the camel of love. Is it too loud here around me?
I think, is Dawn on the telephone or something?
No. I'm in an institute.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Maybe, you know what, can you,
But they
you on a laptop?
I'm on a laptop, yeah.
If you know, what you can do is you go to your audio settings, it's the little mute button and the little upward arrow, and you hit audio settings on the bottom, and where it says suppress background noise, you can go to high. Do you see that?
Oh, can you, I never, what? Do you want me to do that? Because they left.
Well, if they left, it's no problem.
It might come again. It's yeah. I'm sorry.
You can go downstairs if you want.
I'm just talking. Yeah. So let's see if it comes again. We'll deal with that. I'm sorry about that. I'm just sitting in the lobby of an institute where my wife's mother is staying. So the religion of love is this divine power that can guide us. And it's really, really different in my experience from just being a loving person when it's comfortable for me. So usually we use love as something that we do and something that is serving the ego when it's serving the ego. But being a devotee of love is really something else. It's like allowing love to carry me beyond what I think is reasonable, beyond what I think makes sense, and et cetera, et cetera. And this is what I see evolving, actually. So I don't think love evolves, by the way. I think we evolve as humanity to realize deeper and deeper what love is. And what love is a divine power. And what love is a deeper intelligence than the mind. And what love is not only hormonal love, what people reduced love to hormonal arousal and excitement of falling in love, but there is a whole different way of not falling in love as to rising in love. Actually allowing love to share its intelligence with us and to be a guiding force. Instead of seeing love as blind and in terms of intelligence, as if love doesn't have intelligence, love is just like a stupid urge that moves us to do things that are stupid, like marry someone, sign a mortgage and have children, and then you're fucked up for your life. But actually, maybe love has a deeper intelligence than that, but for that we need to actually realize love, not put love in a box. And this is where we are afraid of. We are afraid to take love out of the box, because in order to control people and in order to make people small, religions and states, empires, put so many rules about love and eros and sexuality, which is, if you think about it, a little bit weird. Like, why the state has to have something to say about who do I love, how many people do I love, and in what way do I love? Like, what the fuck is it any interest of the state that I live in? Except if they want to control me. And indeed, that's what they want. So controlling people's ability to love and controlling their sexuality has been, in the last thousands of years, which is not so much time in terms of humanity's history, because we are here for long time before that. But in the last 2,500 years, I would say, maybe 3,000 years, there were systems that were blossoming on the repression of love. And by controlling people's sexuality, try to control people, make them taxpayers and soldiers. This is what happened with patriarchy all around the world in different cultures. Yes, I wrote my book, Kadesha, which, by the way, in those days, the second volume is being uploaded to Amazon. So it's a trilogy. So the second part is coming on, which is, all of them are historical novels about aspects of mysticism that is connected with sexuality and eros that is well documented but less known by the public. So yes, those institutes try to reduce love, and part of it was to allow love to exist only in marriage, only in a nuclear family. And you mentioned Tamara in the beginning, and I'm good friends with the founders group of Tamara for many years. We were in good contact, and what their experiment is basically challenging the idea that love should exist in a nuclear family, and actually calling us back to what we know deeper inside of us, that love should exist between some kind of a tribe of humans. We are apes, to be honest. We're apes, and apes don't have nuclear families. The apes that we are, have clans, have groups, have a community of several dozens of individuals, maybe 200 max, if you look at apes. And there's intimacy in this group that is shared, there's love, there's care. Children are not so much personal children of the parents as much as they are children of the tribe, which allows also children to grow in a much better way than being submitted to the dramas of the parents, because parents are, by definition, have dramas in their love life. Why do we need to drag the children into that? Why can't the tribe take care of children when their parents are in some kind of relational drama, and save them from the stupidity of the conflict? So what Tamara does is actually bringing us back to what we are naturally, which is a group of people that can care about each other so deeply beyond the restraints of the nuclear family. But I want to say something even bigger than that. I think we're in the end of one civilization and at the beginning of a new civilization. What we experience now is the collapse of all the structures that exist today is a collapse of civilization. It's not just a little collapse of something, this government or that government. The civilization that we grew up in, which took humanity over the last thousands of years, is collapsing. It will take a little time. It will make a lot of dust as it collapses, but it is collapsing already. And this is a civilization that is based on ego and survival, and the survival of the ego. The new civilization that is coming is a civilization that love is in the center of it. Love has to be in the center of it, or we don't exist. The funny thing, it's not so funny, it's sad actually, is that the civilization that all in it was surrounding survival cannot survive. That's the paradox of that. Because we thought about survival all the time of the individual, of the ego, we created the situation that as humanity, we cannot survive anymore. This civilization is at its end. And if we don't make a huge shift to a civilization that love is in the center, and love, what love does is that it takes us beyond our ego, that it takes us to feel the connectivity between things. That's what love is. If we ask actually, what is love? Is this feeling, this acknowledgement that we are connected. And it doesn't matter if it's, you know, you love your pet, like this pet here on the one of the couches in here. You love your pet, you love your parents, you love your children, you love your community. It's all love. You love a tree. What is it? It's a recognition that we're connected. And we are connected. We are connected in ways that science still doesn't know how to explain, but we do know that everything that met once is always connected forever in quantum physics. There is a connectivity that is fundamental to this reality. The recognition of this connectivity, we call it love. When I feel that I'm connected to you, I love you. And it doesn't matter if we have sexual relationships, it doesn't even matter if we're enemies, I might love you. If we don't talk with each other, I still might love you because I feel, fuck, we are connected, you know, I care about you. Maybe in a distorted way, but I care about you. So love is this connection. And what we didn't put in the last civilization, the connectivity of things was not in the center. And that led us to a culture or cultures that are based on separation, and led this planet to the edge of destruction, mass destruction. The only way we can survive is if we put love in the center of the next civilization, which means also the love to the planet and love of how we connect with plants, places, the air, the elements, and how we connect to each other. If this would be not as something that, you know, it's nice when you have it, but, you know, be serious and survive. But actually we realize that this is the first and foremost important thing in the world, and in our connections and in our survival, actually, as a culture and as a civilization, things will shift. So that's the camel of love. That's the camel of love, and it's the religion of love. It's when you realize that love is bigger than anything that we can think about, and we need to allow love to lead us instead of putting love in little boxes.
Hallelujah. So the camel of love, this bigger spiritual energy that carries us through more than what we think is possible, doesn't want to be put in a box. We don't need our sexuality regulated by the state. This paradigm is dying. We need love in tribes, and we need to put love in the middle and connectivity in the middle to all of life.
Yeah, and love can be sexual love, which also doesn't need to be in any box, but actually to be innocently wild.
Innocently wild love. Oh, Ohad, it's wonderful to hear you. Thank you so much for joining us, and you're so welcome to stay. And if you need to leave,
I do need to leave. I would love to stay because I want also to listen to my friends here. But excuse me, Sasha and Rachel. Yeah, just landed, literally.
Yeah, so. So much love to you. And
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Briony, and thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, let's cool off the thought and sing for a minute. So however you're doing, just like Oh, like just make some noise and maybe sing into like what strike, like was that comfortable, uncomfortable? Like what arises in you hearing Ohad speak? Just sing into it for a moment and see. Oh, okay. We will have a chance to hear from you, but I want to move on to Rachel now. So Rachel, I want to say some of what Ohad made sense to me. I think a lot of the experience I've had, particularly when I was in Britain, less so in California, was that there was like this version of being a loving being, being a sexual being that was kind of allowed, that was basically heterosexual monogamy and like marriage and then in teenage and early 20s like something like mini marriage, like prep marriage. Anything I was doing that wasn't that, I had to be very secretive about. Like the thing that looked like marriage or a little marriage I could be public about, and then anything else was like secret. And I think often had these times that my internal longings, desires, orientations, what I then lived into exploring actually in my life and loving and, was like really different to that. So, Rachel, you are the co-founder of an organization called Embodied Intimacy, and I have never done an embodied intimacy workshop, but I believe it's spaces in which people can actually explore like what is really true for them in terms of intimacy. Rachel did this amazing post on social media recently, like saying basically like the serendipity of when someone invites you to talk, when you've kind of been building up to giving that talk for like a decade and you're actually ready to bring your voice, you're ready to speak. So Rachel, I actually just want to give you an open floor for 10 minutes. Like what is alive in you to speak around this topic? Like what talk has been brewing for a decade that we could have 10 minutes of this evening? And thank you so much for being with us this evening and welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you also. I feel a little, there's such a vast space that opens up when you put this question out. So it's a little, yeah, it's a little overwhelming to speak into such a vacuum. And yet there is something that I've been brewing with. I feel to orient myself a little bit just for people who don't know me, and there are some people who I do know who are here. So thank you for coming. It feels really sweet and warm to see you. I've been yeah, I think my entire life has really been in service of this like rebellious defiance and search for something more true that I've known and felt is possible in love. And and oh gosh, how do I start this? So for the last, like, let's just say for the last 15 years, very strongly, I've been exploring both my sexual identity, my orientation towards being sexual or romantic with men and or women, and also the configuration of how my heart, what I like to say is like, what is the shape of my heart? So from the range of monogamy through like polyamory or open relating or free love or fluid relating or whatever you want to call the different form or formlessness of how love wants to be expressed in relationship. And up until about 2 years ago, almost now, I had gotten to the place where I was living in this home with a primary male partner who had been my partner for 5 or 6 years at the time, and a new primary other male partner who had been my partner for about a year at the time, and 2 other female women who were my lovers and my sisters and my best friends, and more people kind of connected to the constellation. There was this what I felt like was this evolution of a new paradigm of what would be possible in love when we commit to life together, really. And we were co-creating this family, and at this exact time, it was really like at the time where I felt like in my life I had reached the highest expression of my potentiality in love, where I had moved through so much triggers and so much trauma, and really like got into this place of being very fully expressed. In that moment, I became pregnant with my second partner's child. And that pregnancy and the subsequent and the impact of that pregnancy on all of the people involved, and especially myself, and the kind of spiral that it took me down, and all of the way that the individual lives were touched, rippled out and rippled through our system and just shook everything really to its core. And everything has reoriented itself. So I'm sitting now I have an 11-month-old daughter who's being raised more or less in this family constellation of sorts. My primary relationship to my longer partner, Booster, has closed or in a way completed. And now I'm very much have found myself in this free fall, and this quite dark night of the soul, if I'm honest, which can also be from the lack of sleep of being a new mom, and and like going like, what the fuck, and I promised myself for my whole life, one, I never really committed to wanting to have kids. I never really knew if that was my path. And 2, I said, if and I have children, it will only be if I'm finally find myself in this tribal orientation. If I find myself in tribe, then it will be worth, like, then I can have a child in tribe. But this single family home thing, no, I'm not doing that. So so it's a very funny thing of like, be careful what you wish for, and even when you wish or when you dream, life has different plans. And what I find myself now in is a lot of existential questions around love and what we're doing and why. My both of my male partners are now more interested in monogamy, actually, than anything open. And that is still not my truth. And that has really shooken me in a way as well, to see so many people come and explore and commit and vision this new world that we're creating, and then backpedal and go back. Yeah. And then there's this question, is going to monogamy going back? Or is like there a conscious monogamy that is in fact more evolved than even open relating? These are all questions. And what I like to kind of meditate on in this space, and it ties into some of what Ohad was saying, because I agree with so much of Ohad's recollection of history and where we're going and what's happening in the world, and the need to put love back at the center. And also our deep yearning and longing to find ourselves back in tribe, to be in it, like what Tamara is trying to do, to be back in tribe. And yet, when I'm honest and when I look around at what we're actually capable of, I don't see that that is the next step. And that's what I feel more curious about speaking into, rather than speaking into like, what is this gigantic vision that we have for love and for what's possible and for all of our yearning to be surrounded in tribe? Like, what are we actually capable of? And I like to point to this because there's so many people. I do a lot of like work with people in open relating and like you could say like coaching or guiding. And I like to say like, yes, like when there are people who come into this and they say, I feel that like this is my soul's expression is open. When I feel my soul, when I am as connected to that highest self and that soul's yearning and longing as I possibly can be, my heart is open. And I believe that loving more is not only possible, but there is like an abundance that comes. Yeah. And that's the soul. But then you tap into the animal, like that primordial animal that is also still very much here. And that primal animal isn't always capable of what the soul is longing for and knows is possible. So I like to say like what we're actually looking for is that place where like, where is the place where there's the overlap? Where can the animal be fully, where can the soul be fully integrated into the animal? Like where can those two both be expressed and reside in peace and harmony? And I believe like that is more of the place that we're searching for right now. Isn't this like utopic idea of free love communities? It is like, what would be the next step towards potentially that? But what I think is, as we take a step towards that, I think something very different is actually going to take hold. Because I don't think we're going back to the tribal villages that we once lived in. I think that time has come and we have come through that. I think there's something different that's actually would meet more of where we're actually at and the repair work that's needed. So when I say the repair work that's needed, there's been there's a beautiful thing. We've been talking about Tamara a lot, and I just love Tamara. I've done some pilgrimages there, and I would love to go back. And one of the really brilliant things that has arisen for me to share with that I've taken from Tamara is they say, if we want to see a world without war, then we have to end the war on love, or the war between the genders. Like that inner war in love, if that continues, the expression of war we will continue to see on our planet. And so for me, that's inquiring into the places where I'm not yet able to live my highest like potentiality in love. One of the pieces that brought me in my personal journey to open relating or polyamory was this devastation of watching what happened in my biological family when my parents broke up. And it happened several times. It happened when my biological parents divorced when I was 6. And then they both remarried people. And then those marriages ended, and then that they broke up, and then they remarried. And so I've been through multiple divorces and breakups of my parents. And every single time it was war. It was a battle. It was hell. It was like my father not being able to pull in the driveway to pick me up, like having to stop down the street because the tension was so heavy. And as a child, I remember not being able to understand, like, how can you love someone? Like, how How can you really love someone and then hate them? Like, how can you get to that place of, I want to make children with you and I want to create life with you and I want to die by your bed, and then I hate you. Don't ever come to like near me again. Like that didn't, I couldn't reconcile how that could how those simultaneous feelings could coexist.
Rachel, I so love what you're saying. Just a heads up that we've passed 10 minutes. So if you want to like wrap up
Thank you. Perfect. It's great. Thank you for that. Thank you for the heads up. So I believe like this is partly it. What I'm seeing now and what I've had to face in myself in my primary relationship ending with my once primary partner Booster is all of that rage, all of that anger, all of that I hate you, all of that like I want to be as far away from you as anyone else on the planet. You've hurt me so bad. Like all of that also exists within me. I could feel my lineage. I could feel my mother. I could feel my grandmother. I can feel all of the women and men before that, though that is still here. And what I'm noticing around me at this time is, and the gift, I believe, of these open, free love paradigms is this idea of like transitioning out of and into relationship, this idea that things don't end or that there's a big breakup and there's a battle, but there's actually a way to stay connected to the love that is there and continue to build life together out of romantic entanglement or romantic partnership. So that's a little bit of what my constellation looks like now and what I see other couples around me doing, saying, hey, I love you. We built life together. This is beautiful. I don't want to walk away from this because we've decided we don't want to be sexual romantic partners anymore. I still want to be invested in this vision. I still want to raise our children together in a harmonious household. And I see this like this busting and breaking open this nuclear family bubble into a new paradigm of what's possible in taking a step towards tribe in a way. So I don't see that the next step is tribe. I see that that is a potential step, but I think that first we need to heal our family constellation work. That's what needs to happen first, because otherwise we're going to bring all that shit into tribe and we're going to try to do it with 200 people instead of 10 people who we really love and are bonded with. And I think that's a more realistic step. That's the next step. We can live in a household of 10 people who love each other, who've built lives together, who want the best for one another, and who are taking a step towards saying like, I want for you, and I'm willing to do the work on myself so that I can still celebrate your love whilst like, ouch, it hurts because I'm still in pain that our love story didn't work out, and the ripples of that. So I think communicated my vision and what I'm with.
Woo. Rachel, thank you. Can we make a shape, like a Zoom like hand shape for Rachel for her talk? We should have done it with Ohad as well. We've got a gallery like, yeah, thank you. I really celebrate your courage in your life. You're like, I want to explore what shape my heart is, and this like beautiful constellation you got to, and I'm really curious at the power of the baby coming to like. And I think so many of us can resonate with what you're saying about this longing for tribe, but like, oh shit, we're broken and we can't, and it's amazing to put what you're saying next to what Ohad is saying. He's talking about love as this sacred higher power, and you're talking about love as this territory of war. It's like we've got war in the realm of the sacred, and it's so potent. Whew. Let's call off the thought and sing, everybody. Let's all go on mute and use our voices to just do some digesting of what we've heard and how it feels.
You're still muted. We don't hear you. Bryn.
I know, I want to be muted. I'm making weird sounds. I hope you are too. This is the weird sound moment. Let's do it. A little bit more weird sounds. I think it's time to share a music video. So I think, you know, hearing you speak and mapping my own biography, I think as a little girl, the expectation, the template was like, one day you're going to grow up and you're going to get married and you're going to have children and you're going to be with that person forever and ever and it will be happily ever after. And it's like, yes. And you also told me Father Christmas believes. It's like these are two big loud lies, and you're being told that from people who are like yelling each other's heads off and like, you know, announcing their divorce every 6 months while they're like, but monogamous lifelong marriage is like the only way, but you know, it's like, wow, this territory of sacredness and war that we're meant to organize our lives around, but it's terrifying. So I'd like to play you all a song, and I invite you to, like, you know, move your bodies. Actually, we often have it like a dance track. This isn't really, you could maybe dance to it, but I invite you to like stand up and move your body. And I want to say, we have the filmmakers in the house tonight. So we have Lucas, who is the director and the cameraman. Lucas, do you want to like wave your hand? So everybody, there's Lucas. And we have Roz, who's the dancer, who's like, and then I don't think Danny's here. He's like, I would see it between my hands. I think he feels really shy. So I'm going to try and share my screen. Okay. And I want to share sound as well. What I'm going to try and do, everybody, I think this will work, is if I mute myself and then play it. But listen, if you don't hear any music, then please unmute and tell me, because it means it's gone wrong. So this is a song called Sun in My Eyes and Handle with Care. Here we go. This is the world premiere of the music video, by the way. Oh gosh, oh my goodness. Can you see that? Yes, okay. And then tell me if you can hear it. Woke up this morning with the sun in my eyes. After a night of trouble and storm, rains have been falling and the tears we cried. Trouble feels so deep in the heart. Woke up this morning with the sun in my eyes. Still kind of heavy from the tears I cried. Woke up this morning with you in my arms. Woke up this morning with the lights in your eyes. And could we be allies? After growing up watching the love of opponents, woke up this morning with the sun in my
stop? Can we heal with our love? And now it can. Ooh. And now it can.
That's it. Do you wanna unmute and make some noise for Lucas and Roz and the
And for you, for everyone involved, absolutely.
Amazing. Beautiful. Everything.
Oh, yeah. So we were really, in making that music video, we were really working these themes of like the struggles that love brings up and how deeply it works us. Oh, thank you so much, Lucas, Danny, and Roz. Danny isn't here, but yeah. So that's a song from my latest album, Crossing the Ocean, on all the platforms. I might put the link in the chat at some point, and that video is going to be on YouTube if you want to have a look again. Handle with care. Sasha. I want to move now to Sasha. Do we need to call her for thought and sing another moment? Let's just like make some noise for a minute. So, Sasha, you're good at handling with care.
Thank you.
Sasha was I was in my first open relationship last year, and Sasha was our couples counselor. And Sasha's also I think you're one of the co-founders of a Facebook group called Vermilion, which is a kind of sex positive.
Not a co-founder, but a proud member, definitely. Yes.
Proud member of Vermilion, which is a Facebook group like sexual healers, sex positive people. And it's got several thousand members, and it's a safe place to talk about the things that you normally have to be secretive about. So, love as a sacred force, a camel, war in the territory of the sacred, our sexuality controlled by state, our desire for tribe. Are we ready? Are we not ready? The repair work that needs doing. Sasha, you're a couples coach. I won't talk about your personal life. You can say anything. What is alive for you in this point of the conversation? Like, what healing work does love ask of us, and is it possible? And it's a really vague question. Would you like a more specific question, or shall I just give you the floor and see what you do with it?
Yeah, let's indeed see what I can do with it, because the first two contributions were just wonderful. Thank you, Rachel, and obviously Ohad, who can't hear us, but that was so inspiring, right from the Camel of Love onwards. I'm going to start with the obvious. The question is love evolving? Yes, categorically. Everything human is, everything human always has been. And it's an interesting question, Brian, you just asked, are we prepared? Evolution doesn't care. We either get on with the program or we don't. We choose to go with the flow or we don't. Love is what it is. It is inherently human. We started off non-monogamous. We started off with tribes. Then we needed to control properties, so we designed the nuclear family just so we can track down who owns what with whom. For better or for worse, historians can agree or disagree on whether that was a good point for humanity, but it is what it is. Fast forward quite a few centuries, the bourgeoisie was the first one to get the idea that, well, maybe one woman can serve all the functions that the man needs from his unit, where before people were having lovers because they knew they can't really handle monogamy properly. So it was a given that there will be different people serving different functions. And of course, since we're talking about patriarchy, usually it was the women servicing men and serving men's needs, etc. But nonetheless, women too were participating and surviving the best they could. Fast forward some more, 50s, post-war, and the idea of individualism starts appearing for the first time, which capitalism created a perfect platform for individualism to turn into self-absorbed, self-centered thinking. And we started losing grip. We started, I believe, obviously this is all personal opinion, and I haven't written a book on it, certainly not yet. But certainly from my understanding of history and the books I have read by others and my own personal experience and the experiences of the clients and so on, I started realizing that what we started confusing is love and me, the I, the self. Love is a state of being. I love because I can't not love. It's just who I am by being human. And it's not only humans that love, as we know. So it is natural for me to love. Love is an outward, if you like, energy. I am in love with my friends, with my family, with my lovers, with my neighbors in different ways, but it is love. It is a form of love. It is about who are they and how can I best express my love for them. I do that by trying to understand who they are, what they need, what is the best way to honor them, what is the best way to support them, what is the best way to celebrate them. All of these things are manifestation of love. When it gets confused is where I'm in pain, whether that is childhood trauma, whether that is pain acquired over time, whether that is society telling me that one thing ought to happen, should happen, must happen, and somehow it's just not happening for me. Like the war that I think Rachel referred to, and I've seen it as well, harrowing to see parents who were once in love now coming down to restraining orders and political little games, petty games, really, more than political, and so on and so on. I've seen it. But that is, of course, not about love. That is about pain, anger, hurt. I'm hurting so much, i.e., I am now concentrated on myself. I'm sure virtually every, if not every single person in this room has at some point or another in their life hopefully not too frequently like I do, kicked their foot into the table chair or into the table leg or chair leg or whatever. And at that particular moment, when you hit your toes, it's hurting like hell. At that point in time, you are not capable of thinking of anything else because the pain is too great. On a rational level, you know you still have your whatever, your love, your degrees, your jobs, your whatever it might be that you have, riches or poor or whatever. None of it matters at that point in time because you're hurting. You are in so much pain. Luckily, it doesn't last. But in relationships, we often acquire and build up that pain. And very often, it isn't even the fault of our partner. It is sometimes pain that we have brought with us. So love becomes, what about me? I want this. I need this. Am I seen enough? Am I heard enough? Am I wanted enough? Am I celebrated enough? Ultimately, all comes down to, am I safe enough? And you can't argue with that. It is also a fundamental human need. I want to feel safe. And we enter relationships hoping that we will be safe. Whether they are one-to-ones or whether they are groups, whether we join Vermilion or whether we join a company to work with a team of people, we hope to feel safe in that environment. So we can't ignore that. But it is so essential to remember that that bit is a different topic. That is about me, who I am and where I am. Love is about a way of being and me expressing that to other people, to other humans, animals, doesn't matter, to nature, as Ohad said, etc., etc. So for me, what has happened in more recent years, fortunately, as capitalism is imploding, I would like to believe, we are getting to a point of questioning all structures, including marriage, quite rightly. So we are finally going, well, hold on a minute. Is this actually true? Is the relationship escalator the only way to have a relationship? In the 50s, everybody knew their place or were told what their place is. Whether that is a woman, a gay person, whether that is a non-white person living in a white society or whatever, everybody was told what they should do, could do, may do, must do. 60s tried to question it, and it sort of started a little bit. Feminism came, of course, the early days of LGBT fights as well. Naturally, the early days, well, it's in a way, it's not early days, but the ones we know of fighting the battle for racial justice. But of course, the work wasn't done. Evolution takes a long time. And then luckily, as progress has been speeding up, I believe we have now got to a point where everything happens much quicker. Technology has allowed us to think in a non-linear fashion. So we are able to do multiple things at the same time and hold multiple ideas at the same time. Where before, if you talk to people who are quite conservative, they often talk about the simplicity of the old days. No, it's not the justice of the old days, the simplicity. It was very straightforward. You do this and you do this. And then if you do this, you get that. Simples. It's a very analog way of thinking. A leads to B, B leads to C. And if you do that, D will come. We don't do that anymore. We live in a non-linear age. So we're bouncing around. We can multitask. Officially now, even men can. Traditionally, we thought only women do. Hell no. But we do. We live multitasking lives. So many of us have more than one career. Many of us even at the same time. Many of us have families from before and new families, even if we are not non-monogamous. So we are opening up to the potential of holding different ideas at the same time and entertaining and engaging with different ideas at the same time. And sometimes these ideas are deeply philosophical, such as, how do I want to live my life? Do I really believe in a soulmate? Do I really believe that there is only one person forevermore for me and no one else? I was married for 22 years. I adored my wife. We separated amicably. We were always non-monogamous. It was a what we now refer to as don't ask, don't tell policy. But that ended. I'm now in a polyamorous relationship. I absolutely adore my partner. I'm living love again. I'm continuing. My parents died, both of them, bless them, died without having ever leaving each other, without having ever left each other, sorry. But I remember as a child wishing that they would. Them sticking together for my benefit was the general perception of the time and the place. That's what you are supposed to do. Today, we live in an age when we don't handle supposed to very well. And quite often for a good reason. And I love that. I love the questioning. And I love the possibility of finding myself somewhere on a spectrum rather than being A or B. And it's a great gift. Humanity now has a gift to start finally realizing and opening up to the idea that the vast majority of things are a spectrum. We are non-binary in every aspect, not only in terms of gender. Everything is a spectrum. So why not relationships? That's kind of it, because otherwise I'll just go on and on and on.
I don't know if you can hear the bell, but that was just the 10-minute bell as well. I think, wow, thank you, Sasha. Should we all make some Zoom shapes for Sasha for his talk? I give you a wiggle. So we're in the age of we've been through the age of simple structures, the shoulds and shouldn'ts, into the age of individualism, and now we're in the age of techno multitasking and with non-binary spectrums.
Non-linear thinking, spectrum every time, absolutely.
Woo! Amazing. I'm going to put you into breakout. Thank you so much, Sasha. That was fascinating.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Food for thought, and thank you. I'm going to put you into breakout rooms now, just for like 2 minutes each or so. And just, if you want, like, talk to your person about what is alive for you in this conversation. What is there? Like, yeah, just talk to someone about it. And I'll give you a 2-minute bell when it's time to switch over. Okay, enjoy. Sasha and Rachel, do you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna move you to room A, and Sasha and Rachel is you stay in this main room.
Oh, no problem.
So I shouldn't join the breakout room, that it's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but Sola went into a breakout room. Okay, well, I hope that's okay. How is everyone doing? I just have to check that everybody has a person. Okay, Ashley. Well, okay. Eve, and there's something else a bit. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
It's profound, this realm.
There's a lot here.
Yeah.
Fuck small talk.
Straight in. Yeah. Yeah. How you doing?
Very happy to be here. It's fascinating. I'm still processing Rachel's contribution because there was so much in it, both about where you are right now and how did you get to that point, and the possibility of maybe coming full circle and so on. It's, if you can call it full circle. Apparently, the bourgeoisie, literally, they were the first ones to claim that it has to be the nuclear family. Everything has to be done between these two people and nobody else, and so on and so on. It's insane. Anyway, sorry.
Thanks to the bourgeoisie. Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope that was fun. And now I want to pass the torch to Sola Story, who, Sola, I'm so interested in what is alive for you now in this conversation. You are originally from Africa. You've been living a long time in Britain, so you know two different cultures intimately, and you just got married. So you're embarking with love and conviction on this big arc journey, and I hope you have not been too freaked out by the things that everybody said. But what is alive for you in this conversation? And welcome, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Actually, it's very interesting. I haven't been freaked out at all. No. The question of, is love evolving? I agree with Sasha in the sense that evolution is what it is. So love obviously is evolving since everything evolved in some way. Whether or not we as humans can catch up with what is another question. So I was just saying to Jolly that I come from a tradition called Ifa, which is a Yoruba spiritual practice, but it's more than a spiritual practice. For the Yoruba, it has been for thousands of years a way of being. It's too vast for me to describe in the short time that I have, but suffice it to say that it's an oracular culture, and it is predicated on the acceptance that everything, including us, is divine, that we are all divine, and that love is divine. So the first beings in the Ifa tradition, which I suppose in the West would be called a mytho-poetic tradition, the first beings to come to Earth, and there's a story about that, which I won't tell you now, but maybe another time. And they came to a place that they called Ife. Now, Ife is the name of the place where they came to. It is also the Yoruba word for love. So they came to love. And love is what their first state of being was. Humans in the Ifa tradition are meant to be love and to be loving. But they are loving, we are loving because we are love. That actually finding somebody to love is almost a misnomer, that the first love affair is meant to be with ourselves. We are meant to love I before we, in the understanding that we is I and I is we. So if I declare love for you, Briony, I have to see you as a divine being first, and I have to experience you as divinity. And the only way I can do that is by experiencing myself as divinity. I remember when I was a child growing up in Manchester, they used to say, takes one to know one. Well, actually, it does take one to know one. To know the divinity in you, I must experience it in me. Otherwise, what generally occurs in relationships is what in psychology has been called, I think it's called codependency, where I say I love you, but really I don't really like me too much, and being with you is intoxicating enough to make me forget what I don't like about myself for long enough that I feel therefore being with you is the best thing for me to be. That's not really an African way of being. Actually, Africans are polygamous. In that African culture is a polygamous culture. The move towards patriarchy in the world happened to Africa too. So Africans who originally were actually matrilineal and matriarchal have now become patriarchal. So polygamy is considered to be a way of being that allows for a man to express love with more than one woman, but does not allow for polyandry, which allows women to express love with more than one man. Interestingly, I'm not too clear about the role in Yoruba mythology and also in other African mythologies. People who are what in Africa they call hermaphrodites, but and they would say that even for people who are not physically hermaphrodites, well, they would mean somebody who's gay or lesbian or whatever. But in African spirituality, they have a special, they're considered to be a gateway to the spirit, and that actually they're often priests and priestesses if they are not, fixed gender, because the gender fluidity that is considered to be a spiritual thing. Because of, so I'm going to follow something that Sasha was doing. Fast forward. So we're talking about ancient culture here. Fast forward to post-colonial Africa. Post-colonial Africa is a mishmash of ancient traditional ideas, ancient ways of living, and Christianity and Islam. Now, Christianity and Islam are religions that don't really allow for, unless it's Gnostic Christianity or Sufistic, I don't know if that's a word, but Sufi Islam doesn't really allow for a realization of divinity in humanity. The divinity is in Jesus or it's in Allah, but it's definitely not in me or you. That's blasphemous. And so therefore, what's happened in Africa is that we have become almost psychotic in our derision of our earlier culture, our claiming of a new culture, but our intuitive knowledge that there was wisdom in the ancient culture. So we're almost walking around with split personalities. It was very interesting listening to the description of Sasha and Ohad about what's happened in the world, because actually the 50s and the 60s happened in Africa in a different way. And also in the past centuries, Africa was definitely tribal. This is not Africa is still tribal in many places. So it's not the same as in the West, where monogamistic culture is as entrenched as in, monogamistic culture is not as entrenched in Africa as it is in the West, because polygamy is still there. Some places are actually polyandric. There is a different relationship around how do we relate sexually. So in African traditions, children are taught. Sex is not left to chance. People are taught. Part of the initiation of teenagers is to teach them how to have sex, how to be with a partner, how to be with oneself in order to be with a partner. So I'm saying all of that to say that culturally, there are many different ways, and that often when we're thinking through what it means to love, to have love, there is often a, okay, that's the bell, right? There is often a adherence to the definitions that have come through the West and come through European culture, also through Arabic culture. Very rarely do we look at the definitions that come through cultures that still have a connection with their ancient lineage. By the way, indigenous is a misnomer. It's a red herring, because everybody is indigenous. Everybody's indigenous. So I won't say indigenous cultures, I'll just say cultures that have still have a connection with their ancient lineage, because everybody has an ancient lineage. We've just, many of us have lost it, that's all, but it's still there. Now, I'll just end by saying that I'm very curious about what will happen with the polyamory and with these fluid relationships. I love being monogamous with my wife, who I married recently. And yet I feel free enough to allow her to do what she wants to do and how she wants to do it. If she chooses that that means being with me, that's really, really blessed, because I do want to be with her, but I don't ever want to be with her in a way that is, you know, like my way or the highway, or yeah, but we're married, you can't do that because, you know, look at the ring. The ring says you must be with me forever and ever and ever. And if you leave me, then it's a sin. It's not that, and it never will be. It never will be that. But I am very curious. I'm very curious of what my children choose, and what happens now in the West, with this new understanding, embracing of other ways of loving. And I will end by saying the bottom line for me is that love is divine. I am divine. You are divine. We are divine. And therefore, we will definitely find a way.
Last word, Sola. Love is divine. I am divine. You are divine. And so we will definitely find a way. Wait, was there a bit in there that I missed?
Only you missed out the we are divine.
We are divine.
Yeah.
So, oh, you've got love hearts all over the
Yeah.
screen, Sola. Let's make some shapes or give some. Oh, that I don't think we need to say anything. I think that's it. And these religions that have like blinded us to the divinity of this life, the visiting of love when it visits, and the divinity in our eros, the divinity in our voices, the divinity in the trees and the earth, and here it's not up there or over there, it's here. And if we can, wow, if we're like looking at each other and seeing the divine, and how can, what did Sasha say, how can I celebrate you, how can I support you, how can I understand your needs, how can I support your growth? It's so beautiful. Well, it's such a deep topic. I feel like we could keep going forever. Let's take one more moment to call off the thought and sing, but let's do it, let's unmute and all just like make some kind of sound for how we feel right now. La, la, beautiful. It's so gorgeous to hear you all, everyone. Hey, look, we have I hardly ever say anything about it, but we have a Facebook page for Call of the Thought and Sing, where if you feel like you really want to say something or write something, you could go on there and keep chatting. And hey, Patty, nice to see your video. I just want to really give love to each of us who like love we as Sasha said, because we're human, so we love. And like Rachel said, it's really fucking hard. And you're a coupled or single or happily coupled or unhappily coupled or like whatever step, or like monogamous or non-monogamous, whatever. I just want to let's just beam love at each other in our just in our humanity and what it involves, and diversity and the wiggliness and the profundity of this journey, being a human among other humans, like facing the glory and the hardship and all of it. And may we somehow gradually grow into this, I don't know, some kind of truth, transparency, mutual support, divinity, skill, maturity, honesty, comfort around love. No. Take good care, everyone. How are we going to end? It feels like we all just want to bask. Should we unmute again and sing ourselves out, as this is Call of the Thought and Sing? Let's do it.
Why don't you sing us out, Briony?
Shall I sing us out?
We love you singing.
All
Come
right.
on.
Where's my medicine drum? I want to get a medicine drum. Can I get my medicine drum and sing you out with my medicine drum? Does it get prayer? Okay, 1 second. Okay. May you come home to your beauty. May you come home to the gift of you. Lay yourself on the ground and let love come through you. Love for the earth and love for the sky. Love for your friends and love for you and I. And when love should come your way, may you bow at this gift and say, teach me. And say, change me. And say, thank you, camel, for coming my way, 'cause I needed a little help to get through these times. 'Cause I needed a little help to get through this desert. Here's my hand, it's for you. And we're human and we're divine. Thank you. Oh. Good luck, everyone. Oh, lovely to see you all tonight. The next, we've got a sexy one. The next Call of the Thought and Sing is saying, how do we, as the adult community, support youth culture so that there is a healthy and a non-toxic sex culture? So it's, and we're looking at the song Bless the Girl, and how do we do that? Sola was touching on it a bit, so that is in May the 15th or something, so we'll be back here. So so beautiful to meet you all. And I don't know, should we unmic and call off the thought and sing again to say goodbye and just sing ourselves out? Thanks again to Sasha and Rachel and Sola and Ohad, and thanks to all of you for coming, and good night.
And thank you for organizing this, Briony. Truly, thank you for having us.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Love to all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Really enjoyed.
Bye. Take
Thank
care,
you, that was
people.
wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night. Aw. Well done, guys. Well done. I'm going to stop the recording.